The hallway of Crestwood High buzzed with the usual Monday morning chaos. Lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking across the polished tiles, and fragments of teenage laughter bouncing off the walls. But in the middle of it all, Elena Carter walked silently with her books pressed tightly against her chest, her long brown ponytail swaying gently behind her with each cautious step she took, and though she tried to make herself invisible, she knew she had been marked long before the first bell ever rang, because for weeks now a group of bullies led by Madison Blake, the self-proclaimed queen of the school's social scene, had made it their mission to humiliate her in any way they could. And today, with eyes burning into her back, Elena's stomach tightened as she felt that familiar prickle of dread telling her she was being watched like prey. Then, just as she reached her locker, a sudden, sharp yank on her ponytail jerked her head backward and nearly threw her off balance, causing her books to slip from her hands and scatter across the hallway floor as a cruel chorus of laughter erupted around her. Madison and her clique standing triumphantly with wicked smirks painted on their faces, Madison herself twirling a strand of Elena's hair between her fingers as if she were toying with a doll, and when Elena turned with fire in her eyes, Madison sneered, "What's the matter, charity case? Didn't your parents ever teach you how to stand up straight?" Words that cut deeper than anyone realized, because Elena's father was gone and her mother worked double shifts just to keep them afloat. And though Elena wanted to scream, to fight back, to throw the insult right where it belonged, she simply clenched her jaw and bent to pick up her books, while the students surrounding them pulled out their phones to capture another viral clip of poor little Elena being put in her place. But what none of them knew was that Elena had reached her breaking point, and that this time she wouldn't walk away quietly, because hidden beneath her quiet exterior was a connection, someone powerful. Someone who could turn Madison's confident smirk into trembling silence with just a single call. So as Madison leaned in again and tugged harder on her ponytail with a mocking laugh, Elena straightened, her eyes no longer wet with shame but sharpened with resolve, and she whispered in a voice so steady it startled even herself, "You shouldn't have done that," before slipping her phone out of her pocket and dialing a number that made Madison's laughter falter just slightly. The hallway crowd growing curious as they watched Elena's trembling fingers press the screen, but then hold the phone with absolute certainty. And when the call was answered on the other side, her lips formed the words, "It happened again," sending a ripple of electricity through the air, as though the entire school had been pulled into a moment of suspense, because the voice that responded to her was deep, commanding, and laced with authority. "Stay where you are, Ellie. I'm coming." And though Madison rolled her eyes with exaggerated annoyance, the confidence in her posture began to waver as whispers spread, some students recognizing that tone, others realizing Elena's older brother wasn't just some ordinary sibling, but someone feared and respected far beyond the walls of Crestwood High, a name tied to stories whispered in locker rooms and scribbled in bathroom stalls. And as Elena lowered the phone with the faintest trace of a smile, she gathered her books calmly and walked toward her next class, leaving Madison and her crew momentarily frozen, their laughter dying on their lips. Because though they had pulled her ponytail today, the storm Elena had just unleashed was only beginning, and by the time it arrived, they would learn that not every target stays silent forever, not every victim bends, and sometimes the quietest people call upon forces that make bullies tremble where they stand. And as the hallway settled back into its noisy rhythm, a sense of foreboding lingered in the air, one that would stretch into the hours ahead and transform what began as another cruel prank into the beginning of a reckoning that none of them could have predicted. Because this wasn't just about hair being pulled, this was about dignity, power, and a young girl who had decided once and for all that she would never let herself be broken again. And by the time Chapter 2 begins, the entire school will witness exactly who Elena had called and why even the boldest bully will regret crossing her path.